Hello, everyone. Welcome to I think this is the most exciting time of year for society members. I mean,
And
Isla, how do you beat it?
we lucked out, Jenna, getting to do the Campbeltown and Islay release. Ben was like, "Oh, would you rather do the Campbeltown and Islay or all the other regions?" And I was like, "I don't have to think about this."
Right?
I
He didn't
mean,
even
I
ask me. He just assumed. He was like, I know Jenna is just gonna want to do the Isla. So he didn't even ask me. He was just like, this is what you're doing. I was like, awesome, thanks.
it's probably because I did that sherry tasting with him and Scott, and it's kind of like, I like sherry, but I'm not crazy about sherry, and so but I did try all of the festival bottlings at this point, and I was actually really blown away with a lot of the sherried finishes. And spoiler alert, that sounded weird. Alert. A lot of what we're going to be drinking tonight is actually also finished.
Yeah.
So that peat and sweet mix, for those who did listen to that in-depth sherry deep dive, that's like the sweet spot.
Yeah, super, super excited. I mean, Pete and Sherry are just a match made in heaven for me, at least. So really excited to dig into a lot of these. But yeah, welcome to our Campbeltown and Islay Festival preview. All of these bottles are going to go live on our website tomorrow at 1:00 Eastern time. And tonight, Charlie and I are just going to be hanging out and tasting them. And so if you have any questions about them, make sure you drop it in the chat. Let us know what you think, what you're most excited for, because we're excited for all of them. But we would love to know what you're excited for. So let us know. And before we kind of dive into these really fantastic whiskeys, I can't believe we're tasting 6 different whiskeys tonight.
It's going to be a big show.
I just want to remind everyone really quick that we are running a really, really cool festival promotion right now where if you join the society, which if you're not a member yet, come and join us. We would absolutely love to have you.
Now's the time.
Now is the time. If you are not a member yet, if you join the society, or if you are already a member and you have a friend who loves whiskey as well, and you would like them to join you on this really epic whiskey adventure, if you gift a membership, you will get a $100 festival token to use toward any bottle in the shop. So I kind of like to think about it is if you kind of have an idea in your head of what bottles you kind of want to purchase and then kind of see how many friends you have that would love whiskey, you can give them all a membership and still get your bottles as well. So one way to look at it.
Or if you're feeling especially generous and know any friends who've been wanting to test out the society but haven't just jumped in, or they're a little bit nervous because they don't know what to try or it seems expensive, anyone who joins, gift or otherwise, is also eligible to get a festival token. So if you'd rather them get the $100 instead of you, you can have them sign up on their own.
Yeah. So definitely something to keep in mind. It's a great time to jump on the society train and come join us.
I mean, we've never run a promotion like this ever. And it's for the sake of bringing people together around whiskey. I mean, it's festival season. We had World Whiskey Day this past weekend.
Oh.
And I think a huge part, at least for me on my whiskey journey, for me in the society, is getting to share those experiences with other people. It's so much more fun having an event like this where, Jenna, we get to talk through things. When you pick up on a flavor, it's like, that's that thing. That's the thing that I couldn't put my finger on. Yes, thank you. There's just so much dialogue and fun and back and forth that you get to have if you get to share drams with people. And so we decided that this festival season, we would run the biggest promotion we've ever done so people can come together and love a whiskey.
Yeah. So come join us. If you have any questions, please do feel free to reach out to myself or Charlie. We can be reached at our names, Jenna at SMWSA or Charlie at SMWSA, and we will be more than happy to answer any questions you have or help you get signed up.
So before we jump in, let's see who we have with us here today. I see some tried and true names. George Kaplan, hello. Jimmy Jazz, Sean Spaeth, always good to see you. Brian Bamstein, I don't recognize your name, so welcome. Stuart of Butte, hopefully you're actually in Butte. That sounds fun. Jimmy Jazz, Mark J.G., Warren Buff, hello. And it's been exciting seeing your commentary in the Discord as well. We do have a Discord that all members are welcome to join, and the conversation flows 24/7 over there with some pretty good stuff and a lot of good sharing. Ryan Mercer, T. Roy, Whiskey Franco, tried and true. Joe Hunt, Mamuka 1977. Have I missed anybody?
We have Whiskey Goodness,
Right.
who hosts our Outdoor Preview tastings out in the Oakland area. So if you are in Oakland and you are going to be joining in on our June Outdoor Preview tasting, it will be Whiskey Goodness who hosts that tasting for you.
Amazing. I have some friends who have joined up with this promotion. So Whiskey Goodness, there's a whole bunch of Bay Area crew that I'm hoping to get coming your way in the next couple of weeks.
Awesome. Well, I have to say, I was trying to prep for this tasting because I was like, wow, I mean, peat, this is a lot of peat on the palate. And so I pulled the old Scott Bruno trick and I got a little tiny bowl of sourdough because I don't know, he just seems to, he's always eating sourdough bread during our tastings. Have you not, like, he's like he loves to bake bread, but he always has like sourdough. And I was like, I'm gonna do it. Tonight's the night I'm gonna do the old Bruno bread trick. So I also have my trusty coffee beans and lots of water. So try to keep this palate, jazzed up and in check.
That was the panicked rushing look over my shoulder was I realized I didn't have even any water in sight, and knowing we've got 6 drams coming, I was very afraid, but it's right there. So okay. Yeah. It's like, oh,
that's a rookie move.
Yeah, no, I'm all set. I got my new my new setup with the backdrop and everything. SMWS got me some nice lighting, and now I got the cool setup. One day maybe I'll have all green bottles like everyone else.
Yeah, I go there. It doesn't take long.
No, I know. Well, when you get something like this, 6 whiskeys all at once, pretty outstanding. Should we bridge into the tasting? But one more hello, because Todd joined yesterday with the promotion. So Todd, welcome and thank you for joining. If you need any advice on what to use that gift card on, feel free to reach out to either me or Jenna.
Yeah, we are always happy to talk whiskey. All right.
Are we starting in the town of Campbell?
We are going to start in the town of Campbell.
All right.
With a coastal dram. One that might be coastal and oily.
A smidge oily, perhaps. There you have your little blue indicator.
Yeah.
Let's see. How am I going to do this?
All right. Pour a little baby pour of this. And up first, we are going to be, this is a single cask. So some of the rare releases are going to be essentially a vatted, or blended, I guess you would say, whiskey. But this is a single cask called a Seaside Picnic. This is cask number 93.201. This is an 8-year in first fill barrel at 61.5% ABV. And one thing to note is all of our festival bottles are in the 700 milliliter format. And my husband and I were doing a little, he hasn't seen like a 700 yet. And so I, gave him a 750 in this. And the 750 is essentially just like a skinnier version. Like they really look the same. So yeah, 700 milliliters.
The one other cool thing to note with all of these bottles, in addition to the special label, is they all have the 40th anniversary designation on the front label for 40 years since Pip Hill started the Scotch Malt Whisky Society, and then 30 years on the back label for 30 years since the U.S. launched the SMWS chapter. So,
and there it is. You're 40.
It's a double party, festival season and anniversary season. Okay, Campbellton. It's got the funk. It's got the fun.
Okay, so I have to, full disclosure, I've not tasted, this is the only whiskey I tasted ahead of time. I've not tasted anything after this. This will be my first time tasting any of those, but this one, I don't know. I think I love oily and coastal. I mean, it is probably, I'm not allowed to have favorites, but I do. Probably my favorite of the flavor profiles, just because I just love that like minerality of this profile. But I just think the label's so beautiful on this. I was like, I have to taste that.
Yep. Like, you get the sense of it.
I just love it. It's not just my hair. Like, I just love it.
Did you do that on purpose?
No.
Because Because we did a different one. Your hair, we had a bunch of like sweet, fruity, and mellow, and
Yeah.
spicy and sweet, and you had purple hair.
It changes all the time.
Oily and coastal is also my favorite profile. I'm new enough that I am still allowed to have favorites. It used to be the flavor profile I had the most bottles of, because there used to be like 1 or 2 released every month, and Distillery 93 was the distillery I had the most of, because they came out month after month after month. And now
there we go.
Look at that.
Yeah.
So Campbellton is my favorite region as well. You've seen, so I have a different backdrop when we have team meetings and stuff that's behind my desk, which is just all, actually oddly, Campbellton and Islay. And I was blessed that the store that I was across from my office when I was first getting into whiskey was staffed by total whiskey nerds. And they got me into Springbank. Like, that was one of the first single malts that I got into. And, you know, back then I could just go to the store and get Springbank anytime I wanted. I have all these weird Springbank single casks. It was just like, it's the good old days. It's like the one thing I was on time for. Everything else I just missed the curve. But oh my God, do I love it.
All right. So what are you getting on the nose on this?
So there's something that I generally just call like Campbeltown funk. Yeah. And I don't really know. It's somewhere between like barnyard, which can sound bad, but it's definitely not. It's just like all these earthy, organic, natural, kind of just out in the environment, out in the world smells. So I'm definitely getting that. A little bit of maybe a little cheesiness, which is one of the things I really associate with Campbellton.
I could see that.
Like I could see like sausage and cheese almost, but not like the way Altavania, if it's really heavily peated, or like Glenturret can sometimes be a little bit meaty. It's not like that. It's, I don't know, cleaner maybe, like not as fatty.
Breakfast sausage or something.
Yeah. And then just nice coastal breeze. Yeah. I mean, I'm back in Campbellton by the beach. It was raining cats and dogs while I was waiting for the bus. And it's like, yep, I'm there again.
Yeah, this is like, I'm getting a lot of like, when you said the cheese thing, it kind of all clicked. So Trader Joe's has this like lemon, I don't know if it's like a ricotta or like a lemon. It's some kind of cheese that has lemon in it. And like, it literally tastes like cheesecake, almost like a lemon cheesecake. And it reminds me of that literally like dropped into a bunch of rocks that were sitting in the sea. And then I just ate it off of those like salty, mineral laden rocks. And I really do love that. Like you said barnyard, and there is like a nice natural kind of aroma to this. Like it smells like, if you love being outside and like those are your smells, you know, like this does have like a really nice element of just being out, like in nature. You're right.
Like what's weird to me, where I'm getting a little dissonance, is I wouldn't describe this as a clean smell. Like what you're talking about with the nose, like it's very natural. It's very organic. It's a little funky. It's a little not quite dirty, and at the same time, I'm getting like a mentholated, just like that, right? That like cleaning, cooling.
Yes.
So it's weird that there's like that interplay, because it's like this kind of gritty, dirty, organic, natural smell. And then it's just like this mint blast or something that's getting like right up in the top part of the nose for me.
Like it makes me feel like I almost put Vicks or something.
Yeah.
Strolls. Whoa. That's so weird that you said that. Is so weird that you said that. All right. And it smells like it's going to have a really nice texture. Like there's a textural element to the nose of this.
It's weighty.
Yeah, it's weighty. So stoked for this. Well, I'm diving in. Cheers.
Cheers. We're at 61.5% here. I don't think you might have said that and I missed it, but. An exceptionally drinkable 61.5%.
It does not drink like that at all to me.
No.
I put this at 58. maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. It picks up like, felt nothing heat wise as it went over my tongue. And then right as it kind of like passed down my throat, it left a little bit of singeing as it went down, but like not really even any burn, just enough to let you know it's got cast strength on it.
Yeah, that is dreamy.
So there's a crazy thing with this cask for me. Like everyone has different sensitivities to taste. And one of the reasons I'm not like the biggest bourbon guy is I'm quite taste blind to vanilla in whiskey. I'm getting so much vanilla. Like for me, this is an unbelievable amount of vanilla to be picking up in a glass. Is my palate being really weird, or is that first fill cask just like really high gear here?
I think very active cask. Yeah. I'm still getting like that. The nose, I was getting more citrus, like that lemon, like creaminess. But I will say that this has more of like a Victoria sponge or like a pound cake kind of profile. It's like a salty pound cake.
I get the salty. I get the like bready, cakey sweetness.
That vanilla, like
lots of that vanilla. I mean, it's almost like it's not quite there, but it's almost like a white cupcake, like that kind of cakey bread.
Yeah.
And even getting like the frosting on top. It's very confectionery on the palate. Now that I'm saying that, like I'm tasting more icing, frosting, sugar, but still have that really nice salinity, coastal, minerally. Like it's definitely oily and coastal. No question, it's oily and coastal, even though it's got all of that vanilla going on with it too.
Yeah, it's called the Seaside Picnic, but this is like a picnic of sweets, like cakes and breads and pastry and cake. Lots of cake.
Lots of cake. Lots and lots of cake. Happy birthday, SMWS. You're 40.
This is cake on the beach. I'm curious to know what the tasting notes are because I haven't looked at because the tasting notes aren't on the labels. And so
right. It makes it tough. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't even know like what the tasting notes are. So I'm curious if the tasting notes picked up quite a bit of that.
This is actually, I was too excited when I got these. I actually have tried through all of them, even though normally I try and come into these tastings totally unbiased. And I looked up the tasting notes afterwards and compared them to my notes. And there was one that had like 0 in common, which doesn't usually happen. I don't even remember which one it was. So I'm not too concerned about it. But it was just like, whoa, I don't get any of that.
Oh, I'm looking at the tasting notes and I am getting very different things.
Then maybe it was this one.
Yeah, so interesting. Yeah, and the tasting notes for this one, it says, the air was full of seaside character as shells and sand crushed together beneath our feet. I definitely get the shells. Yep. We set out our picnic blanket and unpacked fish pate, horseradish sauce, and sourdough bread to be dipped in olive oil and balsamic vinegar. We had a few fresh oysters. Oh, I wish. And French onion soup, plus sweet treats, including sour apple pie made with a digestive biscuit and roasted chestnut base. After a dash of water, we found ourselves among the seaweed and salty rock pools. On a beach bonfire, salmon was sizzling in the midst of smoke, and a strong whiff of licorice, when combined with the coastal iodine, reminded us of sweet medicine.
Don't get medicinal. Don't get the licorice, and I'm way more in like the digestive cracker track than I am like the smoked fish and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm not getting a lot of that fish savory. I'm not getting like the savory side as much as I'm getting that like big confectionery, cakey, like vanilla pound cake kind of side.
And I know we're about to get into Smoketown, but I'm also getting almost no peat on this. It's way more just coastal mineral than I'm getting any smoke. Yeah.
So if you like coastal sweet minerality with a great mouthfeel.
And some Campbeltown fun.
And a little Campbeltown fun and funk.
And funk. It's kind of like a Tobermory done Campbellton. You know what I mean? Like it's got all the Campbellton notes, but the way that Tobermory can present coastal, it kind of does that a little bit.
Yeah. this is just, I mean, this is just a really good whiskey to just be like sitting out on the beach. This is like a beach whiskey. It really is a beach whiskey. Like you just want to be out on a beautiful, not too hot, nice little breeze kind of day on the beach, feet in the sea, drinking this. I mean, it's just like a really nice, delicious whiskey for that. So I'm a fan.
I'm a fan. This is a good one. I mean, anytime you can get Oil and Coastal, Campbellton, you're in for a good time. It's not going to be upsetting.
No. And we have about, I think, 100-ish bottles of this, if I'm not mistaken. So I think this, all the bottles tonight are going to have a 2-bottle limit. But I mean, this is a whiskey that I would happily have any day of the week. It's a really good whiskey.
And it is one suited for any day of the week. I mean, I could see this all year round. You know, like, yeah, I'm with you. I would probably rather have it on the beach than on like a super rainy, dreary day. But it's also really nice and warming. It's when I sometimes hear beach whiskey, I think of something that's really just like sippable. You don't have to focus too much on it. And I think this has the versatility and depth where like it's really pleasant to just sit and taste, or as is the case with so many chimeric Campbellton whiskeys, like the more you dig, the more there is to find here. If you're really focusing on it, it just keeps like exposing layers and layers.
Yeah. This is, even just smelling the glass empty is a treat. Whew. All right.
That
was a
great place to start.
Now I'm excited because this is all new territory for me. And I have to say that I'm very stoked to be tasting all of this peat because I actually gravitate towards peat in the hotter months, like summertime. I love peat in the summer. I don't gravitate it.
Weirdo.
Yeah, I know. I think it's because I really love like cold weather. Like I'm not a hot weather person. And I just think that.
Don't you live in the South?
Yes, I do.
Big mistake. No, I'm a year-round peat kind of guy, but also a cold weather person who also lives in the South. So
I just love peat in the summertime. I don't know why. I've been gravitating toward it a lot lately. So super stoked to get into these next ones. So
all right. Sorry, I've got this like shelf all the way over here. It's not so convenient.
This one has a cool name. I really like
favorite
the name.
name.
Of it. Yeah, this one has a really cool name. So very excited to jump into this. So I'm going to introduce
peated. All right. So our next one, we are actually going to be staying. I don't know if I can get this to focus. Probably not. Oh, nope. Staying with the Campbellton malts. And for this one, we will be having another Distillery 93 lock, stock, and 2 smoking funnels. This one is a blended malt. So everything is from Distillery 93, but it is more than one cask that has been put together. It is also first fill. So I wouldn't be surprised, given it is the same cask type and the same age as the last one, if here we're getting the Society's take on blending a little bit, whereas the last one was single cask to show what it is in one. So if you're kind of super nerding like we are, it's actually super fun to try them side by side, where you can get, what is it like as a single cask and how did they choose to show it off as a blend?
I'm just like, I just want to put my whole head in the glass. Just that little whisper of peat just like teases you in a way, just like draws you in, and it smells so good.
Oh, you're a bit ahead of me. All right.
Oh, sorry. All right. We got a long night.
Smoked cheese on this one.
Smoked cheese. What kind of smoked cheese? Like, do you smoke like cream cheese in the smoker?
No, it's kind of, I don't know. It's almost more maybe smoked cheddar or pepper jack or something.
Smoked cheddar, pepper jack. Is it like a nice Gouda? Maybe a smoked
nice Gouda. I just learned the other day, as with so many Dutch things, I'm probably going to butcher it, but it's supposed to be pronounced Gouda.
Gouda.
Gouda. Yeah.
Gouda.
It doesn't work as well for puns.
I like Gouda, but I'll pronounce it however it is pronounced. I'll go to the people at the cheese shop and say it, and I'll be like, I don't know what you're saying
And
to me.
we don't carry that. I don't know what that is. Howdy, do you have any howda? All right.
Learn something new every day. All right. Okay, I feel like this is a little sweet peat too. This
Definitely sweet peat.
Yeah, it's definitely, this is big vanilla sponge cake. Like this is, but it's not as coastal. Like that minerality is not there. But
I didn't want to interrupt. I'm not getting the barnyard here. I'm not getting a ton of that mineral. I'm getting like cut grass after a rain, like that really nice dewy, like damp grass.
Grass smell.
Like very clean, natural, very different kind of natural, I guess. It's just like, this is what I want my laundry to smell like if I'm feeling particularly whiskey frisky. You know what I mean?
This is there is like a little bit of like industrial, like, I don't want to say like gasoline, but like there's like just a very industrial, mechanical note on the back of this that I'm getting.
Kind of engine oils.
Yeah, like engine oil. Yeah.
Like sometimes this distillery, I get like diesel fumes.
Okay.
And I'm not that far with this one. It's definitely like step back.
The smell of an airport.
E Pluribus Newman said petrichor. Yes. It's not quite petrichor for me. I love petrichor. It's sweeter.
It's like one of my favorite smells. I'm so weird. I love it.
Whiskey Franco says machine oil is a typical note from that Seatown funk. Indeed. Yes, it is.
And Steve Szymanski said Trent Reznor got a hold of this whiskey. Perhaps he did. It's a little dark.
Goes over my head. I don't know who that is.
9 Inch Nails?
Oh, gotcha. Diluted a bit. Could do. I like to try things natural first. And as noted, my water's all the way over there, so a bit of trouble.
All right. Shall we dive into this funky, sweet, mechanical, peaty?
Let's go.
All right. Cheers.
Sorry.
Okay.
The peat is the like center line, and then there's just stuff swimming around it.
Yeah. And I actually wasn't expecting that much peat.
Not at all. Totally.
I thought it was going to be a little softer.
Okay, it's only 1% difference. I just had to look over. So this one's 60.2%. The last one is 61.5. This is drinking a little sharper to me.
A little sharper. I agree.
And that might just be because the peat is like making it a little punchier, a little snappier on the palate.
Snappy.
Yeah. It doesn't burn. It's not, I would still guess that this is under 60% if I tried it without any context, but it's, it's a little punchy. It's fun.
Yeah, this is fun. And it is punchy. And I am getting that, like, I think nose and palate on this whiskey match pretty well. I'm still getting a lot of, now that I'm talking and it's just like lingering on my palate, there is like a engine oily, like my husband has an old truck. It's like a 60 something thing. And whenever he starts it in the garage, our whole house smells like it. And like, you know how you can like kind of taste things that are in the air. This is what that tastes. This is kind of what this is like.
It just did a very, very late finish change for me, and it's totally what you're describing. It's like very exhausty, industrial, not quite like runoff, but just like fumes of some kind.
Fumes. Yeah. It's fumey. I wonder why they called it lock, stock, and 2 smoking funnels. So is it like
Guy Ritchie? I mean,
like I don't know.
What's the reference?
Could be a Guy Ritchie thing, but like I'm talking like flavor wise, like do you think they're getting that like kind of fumey profile?
Like a smoking funnel, like an exhaust? Is that what they're?
I don't know. I don't know.
No, I don't know. That's my best guess. It's nice. I think my personal preference of the two is the oily and coastal, but as I've already declared, that's my favored profile.
Right.
But that Campbellton peat is always really fun because it's cleaner than Islay typically is. It's actually kind of clean. It sometimes can even tend more to like older Islay peat where you get that iodine and salinity kind of restrained, and it tends more into that like earthy, mossy. And yeah, here I think petrichor is definitely present, more so for me on the palate than it was on the nose.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it tastes like a rainy day on a tarmac.
I like that.
It was a hot day and it rained, and you're walking on the tarmac to get on a tiny little plane to go somewhere, and that smell that's in the air is what this tastes like.
I mean, that would have been a great name too. Rainy day on the tarmac.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
keep that one in the name library.
SMWS.
Hopefully the plane is the puddle jumper that you can take to Orkney or Islay, start your morning in Campbellton, just jump right over and find your way there. Speaking of which, that's where we're about to jump to in a moment.
Yeah, we are. Man, this is good. I really like this. And has again, both of those whiskeys, great texture, like great viscosity on both of those. Like once this hits your palate, you can just kind of feel the texture of this whiskey. And I think texture is very important in whiskey.
I couldn't be more on the same page with you. When I write up notes, I have, like most people do, nose, palate, finish. I also just have like a mouthfeel section because I find it so important. If something, one of my favorite styles is whiskeys that feel really weighty, oily, heavy on the mouth, but then profile wise are like totally sweet, fruity, and mellow, bright. It's this cognitive dissonance where you're expecting like big, bold flavors because it's weighty, but then it's like tart or acidic and light and bright. And it's just, I don't know, that gets my brain firing in all kinds of crazy ways.
Yeah, I'm big on texture. And I remember when I was first getting into whiskey, it was never something I thought about. And then I had an experience with the whiskey where I was like, I feel like I just like drank olive oil or something. Like there's so much texture in this whiskey. And then from there, I was like, does this whiskey have texture? What does he like? So Scott is here in the house tonight. Hello.
Oh, special guest.
I got a bread of sourdough just for you. You inspired me.
he can't write back. Scott, is your camera on? Do you want to just hop in, guest appearance, invite you in? Come crash our tasting?
Yeah, come crash our tasting. All right, I just want to make sure I don't miss any questions. Gonna look back here really quick. And yeah, I agree. The artwork is kind of oil slicky. So very, very good. Yeah. Very
oil
good.
slick meets peat bog or something, or lava flow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And Daniel Duggar said, I think the society often refers to ship exhaust as funnels. So funnel of the ship. Yeah.
Like that makes sense, on the old school, like Titanic era ships, the big smokestacks, funnels. Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah. What would we do without our members? I don't even know.
No idea.
So
I can't help but compare these two in my head since they're both, same distillery, same age, same cask type. For me, I'm shocked at how active the cask was on the first one relative to this. This is so much like smoothed out. You're getting way more cask integration across those different casks they chose. And I can understand why they would isolate that one cask that was done in the number 93.201, because it was so active. I mean, I'm not at all used to getting, even from a society first fill offering, something particularly at 8 years where you have that much character influence coming in such a short time.
Yeah, that one was really good. And I have to say that the lightly peated, I feel like the peat was a little more intense than lightly peated. This is like almost peated. Like it's not quite light, but it's not quite just peated. It's like it's really kind of dancing that line for me.
I'm kind of old school society labeling where like I didn't even see a heavily peated for the first 5 years 4 or 5 years I was in the society. It was like reserved for some level of peat that the world has not yet known. And so for like even for something to be impeded, it would be like Ardbeg's Hypernova probably wouldn't have made the cut for peated back in the day. That might have been a lightly peated guy. So for me, like, yeah, this is lightly peated.
Yeah, I just was expecting it to be a little softer, the peat to be a little softer on the palate. But maybe that's just because it's our first peated whiskey of the night. So we'll see.
I'll say that again, that makes for a great contrast with the oily and coastal. For people who are interested in trying both, you get to dance the edges of the spectrum.
There you go. We're all about learning exercises here. That's a good one.
Okay, are we going to Islay? Is it time?
Yes.
Yes.
Let's go.
Yes. Let's go.
Let's go.
Here we go. Have you been to Islay before we
I've not. No,
me neither.
I can't even. It's yeah, it's terrible. I just know that when I do go, it will be the right moment.
I'm very excited. I'm very excited for when I eventually go. I don't know when it is. It's just like a hypothetical. Forever, I get to be excited until I'm there. But I'm jealous. A fellow society member and friend of mine, Alex from New York, he has a friend from London who is doing his bachelor party in Ireland and then his wedding a week later in Spain. And since he doesn't want to fly all the way back to New York in between, he's just going to go to Campbelltown and Islay for a week. It's like, cool, man. Rude. Cool. Yeah.
So rude.
He missed the festivals though. So, just a little late.
All right. Well, we'll get there eventually. Like I said, when we do, it will be the right time.
And it will be good.
And it will be great.
Joel Stover, now the moment we've all been waiting for, the main event. Dun, 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 dun. No more light green whiskeys.
Don't sleep on those Campbeltown whiskeys. I'm telling you, like I have fallen so in love with Distillery 93 over the past couple of years. And they're just fantastic. They're just such a joy to drink. I really don't think I've ever had anything from Distillery 93 where I'm just like, nah, it's all right.
I think I'll
flip them all.
I think maybe my most revered society bottle I have is a Distillery 93 9-year-old called Barbecue Outside a Sweetie Factory. And it is unreal. Just like next level. It's not the most complex whiskey. It's not the most beautiful whiskey, but my God, it floors me every time. It's so much fun.
Yeah. See, and Sean said, never had a bottle I didn't love from Distillery 93. So yeah, looks like we're all on the same page here. Well, now that we've loved on Campbelltown, let's puddle jump.
Let's puddle jump. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So we've got our first medium green topper. We're starting at
color of this whiskey.
The fragrant finesse. Oh, the finesse of a fragrant furnace. Sorry. My dyslexia was getting the words out of order for me there. Distillery number 3, 18 years old. We're in the peated category. We have a mix of casks here. So second fill bourbon and Spanish oak Oloroso hogsheads. This is another one of our vatted releases. We are at 18 years old and a breezy 56.9% ABV.
Oh, this is like the sweet spot for me. Like I love that like high 50s, like 55, between like 55 and like 60. That's a sweet spot for me when it comes to ABV. So
I don't know why, but with peat, I often find I like going a little punchier. I like it big. But for unpeated whiskeys, yeah, like mid 50s is such a lovely sweet spot. Are you frozen or has the whiskey frozen you?
In the moment. Man, this almost has like what is that? Like it almost gives me like a little, like a cognac brandy
Oh,
like vibe on the nose a little bit.
okay. I would not have found that on my own. And as soon as you say it, because it's that like dry grape skin mixed with the sweetness. Like it's not just straight sweet. It has like the skin as well, for sure. Like almost more like an Armagnac to me, where it's a little just drier.
Huh. Yeah, maybe a little Armagnac. I haven't had an Armagnac in quite some time. Um, but yeah, there's like a little bit of that happening.
Totally. I mean, my first thing that I smelled, I was just gonna say, was age.
Yeah,
Like
definitely some
it
age for sure.
smells old. I mean, I don't know if they mixed any casks older than 18 years. We don't get any intel on that, but since it is a blended malt, I suppose they could have. It smells like they might have.
I mean, what other thing can you like be happy about saying it smells old? Like
Leather maybe.
smells
New
old.
leather though smells so good. Yeah, I don't know.
But like with whiskey, we're like, it smells old. Like we're joyous about that.
Mm.
Don't know of anything else that you can really say that about.
Whiskey goodness, leather. There we go. We got someone in my corner.
And really quick, I don't want to skip Ryan or Eric's question. He asked how many bottles of the last Campbelltown were made for the U.S. Let me see how many bottles of that we have.
We got
You have
252
There you go.
before the ones that we got sent. So I guess 250.
Like 250-ish, yeah. Ooh, yeah, Dusty Books, Daniel Duggar, good call on that. Dusty Books I love that smell of just like dusty paper. There's
So
something
another member taught me why that happens. So I guess the part in books, I don't know if it's just in the pulp or if it breaks down or what it is, but it's actually lignin that over time, however it interacts with the air, the old book smell has to do with the composition of lignin in the book pages, which for those who don't know, lignin is one of the primary components in oak as well that gets imparted into whiskey and gives it its flavor. So as it sits longer, it has more exposure to lignin and it picks up more of those notes. Thank you, James Cohen.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I mean, paper is made from trees.
Yeah.
So
Just had never thought about it.
I haven't either to really put those two things together. It's like the same. It's the same.
Same base ingredients, just
Right.
different expressions. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Okay, so back to the notes. Now I can't get like past that Armagnac or that. It's like
I really
so present. I'm also getting, I said this to you before we hopped on from my first taste of it. I'm getting a little pineapple juice, like canned pineapple juice.
I can see that. Yeah, it's like if you spilled a little Armagnac and pineapple juice on a really old book and let
in
it
an
sit
art
out.
studio.
Right? Yeah.
I'm getting like some clay, wet clay, some parchment, maybe a little bit of paint.
Ooh, paint. I could see that. Yeah, it's like an artist studio. Smells like an artist studio.
Once again, the background or label that they've chosen for this one is very appropriate.
Yeah. Interesting. I really like the nose of this a lot. This might be my favorite nose so far.
It's love. I mean,
it's really, I could just keep my nose in the glass.
If we're rating noses, I think I got to go with Seaside Picnic. I was adoring that. Yeah.
This one's just like a little richer, like a little more just like exotic feeling. Like, I don't know. It's just, this one feels just luxurious and
the more I'm smelling it, the more I'm just like, I feel like I'm in a museum or something. Like you have just like the open spaces and the paintings and sometimes I'll have the leather furniture there. And
that's a great way to describe it.
Unfortunately, this whiskey wasn't destined for a museum. It's destined for our bellies. So,
Yeah,
cheers.
cheers.
So, before we get into it, this is making me reconsider that you may have been right. This is less peaty to me than the Distillery 93 rare release was.
I agree.
Like, by a lot.
I wasn't expecting that palate. It's quite like fruity.
Yeah. And I don't know, I got so quickly in my head comparing it to the last one. I'm going to take another sip and just evaluate it on its own. Really fruity.
It's really fruity.
And really light on the peat.
Light on the peat.
I'm pretty shocked this is just a properly peated, because this is like, I almost would have thought this could have been more likely to go into the peated side of Old and Dignified than it would going into just a properly peated whiskey.
But I do feel like on the finish, the peat's a little more like charry, like ashy.
For me, it's like the black carbonation you can get on like a pizza crust. Just that like crumbly, ashy carbonation.
Yeah.
I get a bit of that. I saw a question for how many of these came to the US. It's 198.
198 on these. And again, 2-bottle limit on all of these. But I'm almost getting like a peated, like rhubarb note on this. Like a little strawberry rhubarb peat situation happening. I'm just shocked at how fruity it is.
I have a little more orchard fruity, which, Georgia over here, I'm getting peated peach. Not a pitted peach, a peated peach.
A peated peach. Yeah.
Mamuka 1977 has a good point here. Every time you get older peated whiskey, usually you lose some peatiness.
Right.
And I think it's a really important point on its own, and also a really good distinguisher for the difference between peat and smoke, where a lot of people think of the two as the same because you have to get the smoke to introduce the peat. And I find that, yes, the peatiness definitely declines over time, but the smoke tapers off way more than the peat does. And you're left with like just earthy, kind of mossy, vegetal. That's kind of the remaining note when things get really old. Ooh, peated peach pie. Yes, Kyle Cummins. I would love that right now. Tough to say. Sounds lovely.
Yeah. Ooh,
yeah. Should we start like a peated soft drink company? Is this a spinoff?
I'm 10,000% convinced that we should have some type of peated dessert. If we could, like, I don't know. My husband's always like, we need to get peat so I can use it in the smoker, so we could like smoke a peach pie, or like smoke, I don't know, a cake. I don't know, any of those things, just to see if you can infuse some of that flavor into those
4th
things.
of July peated peach pie. Let's do it.
Peated peach pie. I like it. That sounds, my mouth is watering.
Mm-hmm. It might be from the whiskey, though. It might be from the whiskey.
I think it is. I'm actually really surprised by this whiskey. I have to be honest. I wasn't expecting it to be just as like I said, like as fruit forward on the palate, and for that peat to kind of be that sooty, ashy. It's like lighter than, I feel like you said, the last whiskey we just tasted, but I feel like that like sootiness kind of sits a little bit heavier, like in the like jowls of my mouth.
I mean, this whiskey for an Islay peated category whiskey is just like the beautiful lane. It's elegant, it's composed, it's restrained. Like, I have a feeling the next three we're going to taste are not going to be in the like beautiful, elegant, really structured. They're going to be more like the big peat forward, fun, kind of dominating massive whiskeys. So if what you're looking for is a whiskey that is just like really impressive, I said this, I think, on our tasting back in March. Something was like one of the whiskeys we tried was a festival kind of whiskey, like something that you would want to enter into a festival to really impress people.
Yeah.
I think this has shades of that. It's more in that lane of just like, this is a beautifully structured and beautifully composed whiskey. But it's not where my head immediately goes if I'm like, I want a proper peated Islay, just like smack me in the face.
Right. This is more like I don't know. This is, I still, the nose on this is still hands down my favorite of all three so far. Really just love the nose of this whiskey. It is just like sweet, subtle peat, and I'm with the Whiskey Franco, peat everything.
I'm like back in first grade, standing at the pencil sharpener, just the hand crank pencil sharpener. And like one hand is doing that, and the other hand is just like shoveling Haribo gummy bears, like that, just kind of like fruity.
Oh my gosh.
Man.
Yeah,
that's really nice.
Peat, peach, rhubarb, strawberry. I mean, it's a very summery kind of whiskey.
Yeah.
This is really, and it's interesting, the finesse of a fragrant furnace. Like, is that furnace in like the perfume section of Selfridges, or like, where is this? Is it in a bakery? Like, where is this furnace?
I get much more finesse than furnace, personally, just me.
More finesse than furnace. Yeah, this is just a beautiful whiskey.
Yeah,
it's beautifully, like you said, a beautifully composed whiskey.
I like that Vortex 1988 is drinking Corey Brecken. Like it's one of those things you see on Reddit where it's like, oh, the name is just so appropriate to the comment. Like, how perfect, Vortex and Corey Brecken.
It's probably my favorite art bag.
Yeah, it's insane. I remember exactly where I was the first time I had it.
Yeah, love that. It's like peated butter popcorn.
Very different from this whiskey.
Very different. Yeah, I am the most surprised by this, I have to say. Really, really surprised by that.
I think it was the tasting notes on the Seaside Picnic. Sorry, when I'm looking over here, I'm looking at the bottles that mentioned licorice. Mm-hmm. On that last tiny little sip, I got very distinct black licorice.
I didn't get black licorice, but
yeah,
I'll taste it again to see if I can find it. I'm up for the challenge.
And on the nose, I'm smelling red licorice.
Yeah, and just like I just rinsed the glass because I have to use this one, and I'm smelling it, and there's still just like a really lovely aroma of peat in this glass. I'm really into that whiskey. Okay, I can't be because we have 3 more to go.
Yeah, you can't just keep drinking that one.
I can't pick one yet.
I don't know. We did this ordering without this in mind, but in my view, we've saved the best for last.
Yeah. So, all right.
So we'll see. But we're not there yet.
We're not there yet.
Do you want to announce this next one?
Yes. All right. So I gotta get the banner. I gotta get the banner, the background has got to.
Oh, right. Very important.
Yes, and this one is like so fun. Absolutely love the label on this one. All right, so up next we have our rare release from Distillery 53. It is called Floral Petrichor. It is a 14-year that was in first fill American Oak, Pedro Jimenez hogsheads, and refill hogsheads at 56.8% ABV at $180. There's your label. I'll show you the color.
Ooh la la! Petrichor. There we go. It comes right round.
I have to say that one thing I do love. Here's the color on that.
Ooh, look at that.
It's almost like pink.
Yeah, quite a bit more ruby than what we've been seeing.
Look at that. I have to say that living in the South, when I was living in Los Angeles, it didn't rain very often out there. But here it does rain quite a bit. And I have to say that after the rain, petrichor smell. Like it's everywhere here. And it is just like, I just go outside and take a walk like right after it's rained. And that smell just brings me, I don't know.
It's something to be thankful for.
I love it. Yes.
I'm actually pretty amazed at this color. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Pretty.
It's really nice. Just somewhere between like
Okay.
true amber and a little bit ruby.
Let's see.
Yeah, you've got the nice paper. I didn't know we were going to be doing that.
Well, it's a trick that when I think I was doing my WSETs, they say like use the paper, right? To like look at the color. And I was like, I've never done that. And I was like, that actually makes sense. So here I am with the paper showing you the color. So pretty.
Okay. Let's see. Ooh, mama. There we go. Wow.
I bet
That
Scott
jumps out of the glass. Holy crap, that is lovely.
That is freaking lovely.
I don't know. There are times where when I'm going for peat, I want what we had from the Bamor, that just like elegant. It's so nice. But a lot of the times when I want peat, I want something that is just fun. Like I am here for a good time. I'm announcing what the heck I'm here to do. Let's get this thing going. And yet, now that I'm coming back, I'm getting way more of the PX cask. The first time it was just all the peat jumping out at me. And now I'm seeing the little like those little globules on the label, the little red ones. Like those are little strawberries. That's all I can think about when I'm looking at it now.
Yeah, I do kind of like that. Like when you first smell a whiskey, it's like your nose does this thing where it's like, okay, peat. And then it like kind of soaks all it up. Then it's like, okay, it sets it aside. And then it's like, what else is in here? And you just kind of keep doing that and just keep digging through all the layer of aroma in the glass. And I agree with you. That PX cask is sassy.
Just so I can preempt the question of how many of these we have. We will have 450 of floral petrichor available.
Great name too. Yeah, and I know that.
I'm getting a lot of baking spice all of a sudden.
I am too. I was like, I'm trying to find that floral thing happening, but I do get a lot of baking spice. It's quite a warm whiskey. I'm getting like toffee and like caramel.
There's chocolate dipped strawberry.
Chocolate dipped strawberry. That's a great note. It's like warm, but there is like a nice brightness to this whiskey.
I'm getting a little bit of like, it's like if you're hiking and it's probably fall because you're getting a lot of that just like leafy background. But the thing that's really sticking out is just like a log that's been half submerged in the river and mud forever. And now the water started to recede where it's like almost rotted, not quite. It still has some of the fresh wood, but there's just a little bit of decay happening in the wood. It's very specific.
But I love that. But that's the great thing about whiskey is it like kind of takes you to a very specific place, or it can. Yeah, this is, I mean, peat aside, would you put this in like a deep, rich, and dried fruits flavor profile?
Peat aside, it's tough to get the peat out of there.
I'm getting some pretty big PX jammy things happening.
Yeah. For sure. I advocate for creating a new category. I actually used it in the description for one of the whiskeys in the email, not the official tasting list, but deep, rich, and charred fruits.
Ooh.
I think that should be an unofficial category, and I'm getting that here for sure.
All right.
Scott, be quiet.
Scott, have you tasted this yet? We would love to know what you think when it comes to good old sherry. All right,
Okay, I'm going in. Yeah,
I gotta taste this. Cheers.
What's the ABV on this? Wow. Ooh. Ooh.
Okay. This is like, okay.
This one is still changing. It just keeps going.
I was gonna say, like, I tasted it, I took a breath, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then I kept talking, and then I was like, oh my gosh. And then I'm just like, what is happening? It is a very evolving kind of whiskey on the palate for sure.
It's still going. Like, I can't even run through all the notes that have happened, but like the last three that I took note of were like, oh, it's very peaty. I guess the last four. Oh, it's very peaty. Oh, it's actually quite fruity and cask influence. Oh, now we're back into like a more mature kind of older peat. Oh, now it's all wet rocks and coastal and minerally. This thing is all over the place.
This is and I'm sorry, I just love this comment. It would be funny if Scott did in the background like the Kool-Aid man and said, somebody say Dirtif.
Scott, I'm gonna start a GoFundMe to get that T-shirt made. Your face in the Kool-Aid glass.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Jen says that's going on. Scott's next.
There we go. Yep.
Oh my gosh, that's too good. All right, back to the whiskey.
Back to the whiskey.
I hurt myself. Wow, this is. I gotta go back and look at some of our. I gotta find the other rare releases that we did from this distillery. This is just. I'd be really curious to taste those side by side. Scott said he'd buy it.
It's getting more on the nose. It's getting more like more of those like paint, not quite varnish, but like wet paint is really what I'm starting to smell here.
Okay.
Which is just yet another evolution for this thing.
On the palate, I'm getting like a, since we're both from the South, we'll live in the South. Have you ever put peanuts in your Coca-Cola?
No.
No, you never put peanuts.
But I can taste Coca-Cola.
Okay.
I haven't had a Coca-Cola in probably 18 years. I have maybe longer. I have no idea the last time I had one.
This kind of reminds me of that peanuts and Coca-Cola thing. I'm getting a little bit of that on the palate.
When you do that, is it just the saltiness that you get from the peanuts, or does it like actually, I mean, it's incredibly corrosive. Does it start to break it down?
I mean, if you drink it and you get a peanut, you just chew it like with all of that in your mouth.
So it's like Georgia boba.
Yeah, I guess. I guess. Oh god. Yeah. Ironically enough, the first time I ever had that was not in Georgia. It was actually when I was living in LA, and I saw someone do that, and I was like, "This is the weirdest thing." I was like, "I gotta taste that," and it's a thing.
Okay. I mean,
look,
Mark JG says, of course, peanuts and Coke. So, but I do get cola on this for sure, which is normally more of a bourbon note that I pick up.
But there's like a nutty thing happening on the palate, which typically I find more in Oloroso sherry, but there's like a quite salty, nutty kind of profile that I'm finding. And that was just the first thing that came to mind.
I love it. If I ever do have another Coca-Cola, I'll probably drop peanuts in it just for the hell of it.
Okay, just Google it. People are asking about the peanuts and Coke. You got to Google it. But Craig said, I've never wanted anything less than something like that.
All right, we'll keep the peated soft drinks. We will not start the Georgia boba business.
No, we will not. But do the Google of the peanuts and Coke. All right. Whew, yeah, that's like all I can get now.
The palate is still just a crazy adventure. I'm getting like shock tarts, just like a zinging tartness going at first. And then I'm getting like a really dark kind of like earthy, heavy flavor. And then I don't know, it's just everywhere. Now it's nutty and chewy and nougaty.
Yeah, there's like a little dark chocolate I'm getting. Like as I'm talking, there's a little dark chocolate thing happening on the finish of that too.
Chocolate dipped flamethrowered strawberries.
Ooh.
Are you laughing at the fly in the sweet tea?
Georgia Boba's oh my gosh.
Yeah, that is brilliant. The next time that happens, I expect you to tell the person that they've got some Georgia boba.
I can't. Oh my gosh. My insane vein's going to come out in my forehead. I'm laughing so hard. Hot. All right. Enough of Georgia boba. Oh my Lord. Okay. I can't even read the comments now because my eyes are like full of tears.
I think we got to find some kind of prize for Kyle Cummins. That's comment of the day.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
all right.
That's amazing.
Oh my gosh. All right. Back to the whiskey.
Oh, now it's smelling kind of like an Indian restaurant.
Oh.
Like all those spices, and then you know the little thing that some of them will have that's like the palate cleanser, where it's almost like an edible potpourri. I don't remember what it's called, but it's got a little bit of that going on.
Oh. Oh my gosh, I quit. I can't. All right. I'm going to taste this again.
It's not Vortex. It's not ginger. It's like, it's rainbow colored. They're like sweets mixed with anise and licorice and like just a bunch of little things that I guess are supposed to, it's very flavorful. So I don't know how it would work as a palate cleanser, but ginger is a great palate cleanser separately. Pretty much anything pickled works.
Oh, all right. Whew. So yes, this this whiskey, really, yeah, it's a good one. They've all been absolutely fantastic. Every single one of them. I still love the nose so far, the best of the distillery. I do love how this whiskey is like. It is, like you said, it's like a wild ride. Like you're just pulling so many things out. Like it changes so much on your palate. I love that first one was like just a good, like solid whiskey that you could literally have any day of the week. And that, 8-year 93 rare release was just like a little punchier in the peat than I was expecting. So far, great.
This one is kicking ass for me. I mean, aside from the crying laughter, like if we're just focused on the whiskey, this is so my lane because it starts off with just that, like I was saying, not quite bruising, but just like big, bold, peated, Islay. And then you realize you're just on this roller coaster ride that goes up, down, upside down, left, right. It has so much depth and complexity, all focused around that kind of core, deep, rich, and charred fruits profile. That is both fun and exciting. It's composed. It's complex.
Yeah. This is the funnest of the ones we've tasted so far. I agree. Yeah. Like this is just like bring your friends over, sit them down, be like, you want to try something really cool. This is that whiskey.
Well, I have to decide. I'm going to bring one of these. I'm going to my college roommate's bachelor party this weekend. Ooh. And one of the things that was asked of me was to host a whiskey tasting. Okay. And I decided I'm making it my mission to make SMWS members out of all of them. So I'm bringing all SMWS whiskeys. And I don't know if anyone likes peat. So I'm bringing one or two out of this lineup to try and blow them away. Because I feel like if you want to knock some socks off with Pete, SMWS Isla Festival, let's do this thing. Let's show them the good side. And so I'm trying. Part of this tasting is me figuring out what's coming with me to Vegas.
All right. I mean, you already have, if you just want to stick with Pete, 3 really great whiskeys to choose from. And we still have 2 more. I can't believe we still have 2 more whiskeys.
I know.
All right.
Ready?
Should we keep going?
This one's got a really fun label.
Yeah, this one is. It's like mysterious and dark.
Another medium green. Are you ready?
Yeah, you want to introduce this one? Go for it.
So we have Distillery 53.447, The Edge of Midnight. Great name. So much like with our Campbeltown releases, here we have a single cask variation that, if I had to guess, was drawn out of some of the same stocks as the vatted tasting that we just did. So it is also 14 years. It's also first fill American Oak PX Hogshead, single this time. We're at 57.6% ABV, whereas I think the last one was 56.6% ABV. And am I reading that right? Are we doing the same price on the rare release and on the...
I believe they are the same.
Okay. So that's what we've got going on here. And in terms of how many of this one came to the US, it's going to be a lot fewer because we're at single cask. So it's 96.
Ooh.
Pretty limited on this one. But much like with the Campbeltown releases, for those of you who are interested in exploring, a pretty fun way to, again, try the the blend versus the single cask.
Yeah, let me just double check the price on these. Yep. All right, perfect.
There we go. Ooh. Sorry, I have to reach there.
Put this in a different glass.
Okay.
I kind of want to do a side by side.
I finished my last one like an amateur.
I know I did too. That's why I was like, oh man.
It was so good. I just ended up finishing it without intending to. I'll just smell what's left in the glass.
This one definitely smells a little more deeper, like a deeper, richer kind of profile.
Yeah, it's weird how that, because they're similar, but it does feel like you're reaching further down. I don't even really know what that means, but like there's a sensation that it just keeps going.
Right. It's just like
somehow.
A deeper, darker, richer kind of profile.
I do get less of the fruitiness on the nose for this one. And I get a lot more minerality, more like, for me, Distillery 53, one of the super indicators for this distillery is just like wet rock, like coastal smacked, those big chunk stones that brush up in some beaches, kind of like that.
I typically find vanilla on this distillery, like Distillery 53. I do get quite a bit of vanilla on a lot of these casks.
Well, as previously mentioned, I'm generally like smell blind to vanilla, so
I'm definitely getting a little bit of that, but it's like if like you could make vanilla out of like a wine, like a red wine, or like I guess like a fortified wine vanilla extract.
Fortified wine vanilla extract. That sounds lovely.
That's what I imagine this would smell like.
Definitely get, some of that fortified wine. Obviously, the PX cask is helping there. I'd say the peat is pretty nicely restrained by that. Like even even though it's not super PXy on the nose, it's I don't know. It's not really. The last one definitely had more peat and smoke going on the nose.
I agree. This one is a little, yeah, it's just tame. The peat is a little more tame on the nose.
And then I'm getting nougat here too.
Like Milky Way or like what kind
I don't
of
even know the name of the candy. It comes in some like transparent.
Three Musketeers? Is that a nougat?
No, I think this might just be like straight up nougat. It just comes in like a little transparent wrapper. It's got the little like white chunks of nut in it, and I have no idea what you. I don't even know if it's a name brand candy. It might just be the shit they gave out around where I grew up. Oh, is this a candy or a doorstop? Thank you.
Right. I know what you're talking about, but
oh, someone is asking to see the color. I don't have the paper trick.
I let you down.
My Glencairn is super tiny. But yeah, it looks much better on Jenna's than it does on mine. Much more
color.
That pink. Yeah, it's a very similar color.
Similar.
All right, I'm going to taste it.
All right.
Sure. Mmm. Hmm.
Hmm.
Hmm. Who's going first?
You go first.
Okay.
Because I'm going to taste it again.
The peat is like, it almost feels fuzzy. Like I described a different SMWS whiskey I drank recently to some friends this way. It's almost like it has distortion. Like if you were playing guitar and you thought of a melody and you applied distortion, it's just like not straightforward. It kind of vibrates and has a little grunge, a little fuzz to it, but it really coats the tongue. Like, and it just sticks there with this cool peaty fuzz. And then the rest of the stuff just keeps happening on this consistent undertone of peat fuzz.
I'm almost finding like on the finish of this that like fresh, like mentholated kind of feeling on the palate. I'm definitely getting that on this whiskey, on the finish of it. It's like, it's something I've tasted before, but I just like cannot put my finger on it.
Whiskey Franco, bingo. It's like a drive pedal. That's a reference that might not work for everybody, but and Vortex, yes, I have the world's largest hands. This is a regular size Glencairn, everybody. They don't make small ones.
I don't think I have a Glencairn in here. I was like, I have like a little 4-ounce snifter. Oh my God. All right.
No, I realize on these tastings it can get dangerous pretty quick. And I think just because I'm used to filling like up to the hip, I'm much better at getting there in the little guy than trying to under pour in a full size. So I just pull out the little ones. I very tragically I had 3 SMWS snifters, and my dishwasher just sheared one of them the other day, and not where you would expect. Like you'd think it would be the little thin part on the stem. No, the logo is just gone. It was like, I hate this. It's just like a perfectly extracted little shield. Like, great.
Yeah. I think I had upwards of like 10 at one point, just over the years, having, through tasting kits and tastings and things like that. I'm down to 4 because I break them. I break everything, but I break them all the time. But you know what I haven't broken are the water pitchers. These things, I think you could like club a bear with. These things are so sturdy and strong, and never have broken one of these.
A multi-purpose gift. Perfect for Father's Day. Is your dad a bear hunter? We've got the gift for you.
Enjoy Georgia boba.
It's perfect for your Georgia boba. Just pour it out of the pitcher and then club your guests.
Oh gosh. This is taking a turn for the worst.
Yeah, sorry. Back to the whiskey. Let's stay focused here.
I mean, this is like, the more I kind of get my nose in the glass, I'm almost getting like there's like an A1 steak sauce kind of
Oh,
note.
nice. Yeah.
Of this, which I haven't had A1 steak sauce in like 20 years, I think. It's been a while, but that's like one of those things that you just don't really forget. Like a Worcestershire kind of.
You know what they do in North Carolina? They dip peanuts in their A1 steak sauce.
Peanuts? How do you dip one little peanut into A1? Like you gotta fill it up with a spoon and then.
Sorry, I was doing the Coke peanuts thing because it's been as long since you had A1 since I had Coke. This is.
Yeah, I don't think I've had A1, but there is like a note of that like Worcestershire like steak sauce.
For sure.
On the nose.
I am enjoying this one too much. I've like basically already finished it. It's so drinkable. We're at 57, basically 57.5%.
But we've also had.
We have.
Our palates are.
I would say everything that we've tried drinks under the ABV it actually is.
Yeah. I'm quite impressed with that first one. I did not think was over 60%. Mm-hmm. That one really surprised me. So I agree.
Joel Stover asked, is the $100 credit only good to use this month after signing up or anytime throughout the year? I believe it is just for festival season. So they expire at the end of the month.
Yes. And Warren Buff says that you gotta read this. Oh, wait. Oop. I grew up in North Carolina and we definitely dipped whole peanuts still in the shell into nacho cheese. That's a real thing. You eat the shell of a peanut?
I live in North Carolina. I've never done that.
We just need to do like a Southern delicacy tasting of some sort. Nacho dipped peanuts and Coke and flies in your sweet tea. We got to do it.
Deep fried Coke.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We can
do it all. I've never understood how you deep fry a liquid. Like, I don't know. I don't know what comes out. Is it a solid or is it still a liquid?
Right.
I don't know.
We'll find out.
Oh yeah, I guess you got to go to the fair. All right. Do we need to talk more about this whiskey? Because I feel like it's not getting its due. We're too sidetracked here.
We are too sidetracked. But yeah. Again, A1 like steak sauce on the nose. I'm gonna taste it again.
I feel like this is closer to the Distillery 3 maybe than it is to the 53 rare release in just its like overall character. It's way more kind of reined in, like a little bit more in the composed. It's definitely not elegant in the way that the Distillery
the 18 years. Yeah.
But it's just somewhere in between where it's, you know, it's meeting the parents. It's if it were on its own, it would go freaking bonkers, but it knows it's meeting its girlfriend's parents. And so it's putting on its best suit. It's looking real nice. And it's keeping it together for the day.
Yeah. I just, now I'm getting that like kind of A1 note on the finish of this as I'm talking. And it kind of just sits heavy, but I feel like the peat on this is not overwhelming at all. I feel like it's pretty well intertwined with everything else in the whiskey. And yeah, it's a great whiskey. Would not be upset about having this any day of the week.
It is, I think, a year-round peater. You know, it's one of those ones that it doesn't have to be nasty out. You can take this to the beach.
Yep. Probably makes a great highball.
Oh man, yeah.
Heated highballs. It's like my favorite summer beverage.
I used to have to fill retailer samples of single cask retailer samples, and I found it was actually Distillery 53, although you know we could call it by its name back then. But I had to use a pitcher of water to rinse the funnel, and I was then using the same water just to drink out of later in the day. And I never added any whiskey to it. It was just rinsing the funnel after I'd like shaken it out and everything, filling up samples. And I could still just taste like peat in the background. And I was like, damn, I really just got to start drinking like peated water. This is so pleasant. And I could just do this all day. I won't get drunk. This is fantastic. So, just a single drop in your whole liter of water, and you'll be fine.
A little peaty water.
Yeah. Peat everything. We already talked about this.
Peating everything. Even our water. All right.
The last one.
One.
Are only heavily peated. We got the dark green, which normally I can't tell the difference at all. But this one, actually, I can.
Well, since you were very excited about this one, I'm going to let you introduce this one.
Yes, this might be my favorite festival release whiskey of the whole year. It is either this one or the Distillery 64 rare release. And they're very, very different. So complement each other wonderfully. I saw some people in the chat were asking for Distillery 29. Unfortunately, it's not that. But I also saw some other people asking for Distillery 10, which is famously unpeated, except when it's not. And that's how they used to do it. If you find any Distillery 10 from, say, the 60s or 70s, it used to be a very heavily peated malt. And every once in a while, they go back to doing that style. So here we have another one of our single cask offerings, Distillery 10, release number 240, No Naked Flames. No idea what they're going for with that name. We are, of course, in Islay because it is the Islay Festival release. We are at 9 years, which for a heavily peated Distillery 10 is actually one of the older ones I've seen. Every once in a while, you'll catch one double-digit age, but it's like almost never. Heavily peated, and we have a bourbon hogshead finished in a second fill Oloroso hogshead at just under 60% ABV. And one thing that I think everyone on this chat probably understands, but a lot of people might not, is it's really, you don't make sherry in a hogshead. So someone's either seasoned it, which I don't think is necessarily the case here, or they've reconstituted a sherry butt down into a smaller type of cask, so you get more of that influence. And I'm going from memory here. I'll talk more about it once it's poured. But the balance that this thing has, this is the one that got me to actually write Deep, Rich, and Charred Fruits, because I was just freaking out about this base layer of charred, fruity, smoky goodness with a full-on Corey Vrecken intensity swirling of flavors around it. Not the whiskey, the actual whirlpool. It's a bonkers whiskey. That's what I remember. I'm ready to go. I'm so excited to try this again. I'm giving myself a slightly bigger pour on this one.
I did too.
Jenna, let's do this thing.
Let's do it. Last one.
Last one. Ah! No, this is sad. This is the last one.
I have to say the nose of this might be my new favorite of the bunch. It's beautiful. The nose of this is just, like you said, pure magic. It just totally just sucks you into the glass. And I just want to get a little float, a little raft, and just
just
there.
Fill my space with this. Give me a superpower and let me just smell this all the time.
Right? You had made mention of like your clothes or like your laundry smelling like a whiskey. No, I want my laundry to smell like this.
Do not get pulled over while your laundry smells like this.
I don't know this, but this isn't like a boozy kind of smell. This is like a very like elegant. It is quite elegant. I mean, and it's
I was joking. It's a bad joke because they can't smell it. It's the opposite of that. Like someone be like, "Where is the leather jacket in this car, man?"
Right.
And you'd be like, "It's not. It's
like a well like oiled and cared for leather jacket."
Yeah.
It's like saddle soap and Just like,
and still lots of fruit. I mean, red fruits, big time.
you know what I'm getting? Like a very overripe banana that's like
Really?
smushed into like a leather jacket or like a leather chair.
I'm not finding it. I wish I did. I like that smell.
Yeah, I'm like getting a little like just very ripe, like those bananas you leave on your counter for way too long. Yeah, like a waxed jacket. That's a great note, Mayor. Yeah, like a waxed jacket with a very banana like smushed onto it.
Totally.
In like a car that has like peanut butter guts kind of leather seats.
Are you getting any like you go to the car repair shop, or you go to the auto dealership, and you're in that room next to where they try and screw you on price, and next to where you get the maintenance done, where they just have the racks of tires, like just that rubber tires stack of like mixed with the linoleum floors and whatever scent they've got going on, just a full on auto body.
But it's like it's very like there's a lot of just like luxurious kind of aromas. I don't really know how else like vetiver and like sandalwood, and I mean it almost has like a cologne or like perfume type of like body to it. Like I could wear this. I would wear this.
I might.
Like I would wear this.
Just a little dab, and you put it on, and
Like kind of woodsy and warm.
super warm.
Wow.
It's again, I hate how many times I've used this word, but I think I've used it appropriately every time. It's elegant. Like this thing, I can't believe it's 9 years old.
I would think this is much older.
Yeah.
Nosing it, I would think it was not 9 years old.
And that's one of the things I actually love about Peated Distillery 10 in particular, is they drink so much older than their actual age. I've had them at 4, 5, 6 years, and you're like, this could be 10, 12, 15 years.
This is one of those distilleries that I didn't really drink a lot of or taste a lot of before I was a member or part of the society. But I've had a lot of really fantastic distillery 10s, like our 30th anniversary bottling that we did, that distillery.
The one that just came out like,
oh gosh, like
4 weeks ago or whatever, that Scott said might be whiskey of the year and no one else got to try. You got to try that one?
Yeah, I'm with him. I think it's like I have to hide it. I think it's up there, and I just try to forget that it's up there because it's like so fantastic. So this distillery has just been one of those ones that I've been really getting into as of late. So
I've always been big on this one. This was one of the first distilleries I ever bought their single malt, and I remember going to the store and butchering the name about as badly as you possibly can. Like I could probably get away with saying the name because people wouldn't actually know what distillery I was talking about. I got it so incredibly wrong.
What was it? I mean, it's a tough one.
Let's just say I pronounced the last couple letters Bane. And I don't think the store rep would have. I went in and I was like, do you have any of this distillery? And the store rep was like, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Some of those distilleries, I have to say that Roy from Aquavite does a great on his YouTube channel. He has like the pronunciation of all of the, or not all, but a lot of, Scotch whiskey distilleries. And I learned so much from those. That was like my guide in learning how to say a lot of these distillery names because yeah.
Scott is saying 160 people got it. I know, Scott. I'm just echoing my frustration that in 6 or 7 years of membership and probably 15 lotteries entered, I have won precisely 0. So I'm just continuing to echo my frustrations publicly now because I have a microphone.
But if you didn't on that one, this is a very good, even though that one wasn't peated, this is a very good substitution.
If you say so. I mean, like I said, this is probably we've tried some damn good whiskeys tonight, and I
I
think this one's my favorite. So
am just enthralled just in nosing this. So I gotta taste it. All right. Last one. Tally ho.
I couldn't wait anymore.
Okay. This is just perfect way to end a night. This is fantastic. This is fantastic.
You lost me there for a bit. What were you saying?
I'm with you. This is beautiful. This is beautiful.
I legitimately just like disappeared into a world of taste. Everything else just, my ears were almost like ringing. I was just gone.
I'm very curious to hear what kind of notes you get on the palate of this.
Honestly, right now, none. It was one of those whiskeys where all I could taste was like dopamine going in my brain. I was just so overwhelmed with happiness, I couldn't even focus on what I was tasting. That happens very rarely, like not so often.
This to me tastes like a peated farm dark chocolate. Like a dark chocolate, a peated dark chocolate.
Now there's another product. I mean, you're just coming up with business ideas around peat right here. Okay, what am I tasting? You gotta actually focus. It's so hard. It's so good.
And it even leaves like that texture in your mouth, like after you've had like a really good bar of like dark chocolate. Like it's a little bitter, it's a little like chocolatey, and it like that film like covers all the palate. That's what I think that's what made me think of chocolate.
It's like a slight astringency from the chocolate, and then that mix of sweet and bitter.
Yeah.
With that's a spot on note. But sometimes you get the chocolates and you bite into them and they have like the cognac on the inside. I'm getting a little, it's not that sweet, but a little bit of just like that booziness. And again, torched. Like you're getting, if you took some dark chocolate and you filled it with peated sherry, I don't even know. It's something like that.
Could you imagine like a peated bottle of sherry? I like that we're just peating everything.
Yeah, peat everything.
Fruit Loops, like peated French toast. We're just eating it all.
Yes, peat it all. This is special whiskey. This is spectacular.
This is spectacular whiskey.
I don't mean to downplay the other ones, but this is the cheapest of the Islay releases, and it is hands down the one for me. Everyone's tastes are different. This is the one I would choose.
I don't know.
This is outrageous.
I feel like they all fit just very different like moods and experiences. I feel like the most like rich and elegant were probably the rare release and this last one. Like that combo, Distillery 3 and this last one, like sign me up all day. Like that.
You're saying if you were to buy a twosome, because
if I were to buy a twosome, yes, like that would just be I mean, an experience. That's an experience kind of whiskey.
That's really tough.
That first one, that 93.201, it's just like, I mean, that is just like a solid everyday kind of whiskey. And like, I know that can sound like, oh, it's not that great. That's not it. Like that is a whiskey that fits like every mood, every time of day, every kind of weather. That is that whiskey.
That's the one. So like for me, 10.240 is an obvious, like this is making, if we were kids in the playground and I somehow was lucky enough to be the person not only selecting, but to have first pick, this is my first choice. And I was trying to think, what would I choose to complement it with if I were to buy two? And I like where you went with the Distillery 18, the Distillery 3 rare release 18-year-old, because it's similar, but presented in such a different way, right? But I think for me, I would probably go the 93 201 because it pushes into a totally different even style of whiskey. Everything else with that like peat at the center was really rocking to kind of the same genre, and that one is just, I don't know, really so
It is kind of the
imminently.
black sheep of the six that we've tasted. The 93 one.
You cut out for a second. I didn't hear the beginning of what you said.
It is like kind of like the black sheep of the family, right?
Yeah.
Very different of anything else that we've tasted tonight. But I really, really liked that whiskey.
And I think the sleeper here is the Distillery 53 rare release.
I agree.
To me, like, I'm normally someone who prefers single cask because I like the weird notes. Like when you're blending casks together, some of the oddities get blended out and you get a little bit more consistency, you get a little bit more cohesion. But I'm someone who just really enjoys all the weird shit that shows up when you go single cask. And in this instance, I actually preferred the 53 rare release to the 53. I don't have the number in front of me.
Yeah.
About 53,447.
It's so hard because they were all so different in their own way. But I agree. I think the rare release 53 was that, and actually the Distillery 3 rare release were the most surprising to me. That Distillery 3 rare release just totally caught me off guard. I mean, that was a whiskey that I thought in my head, I was like, oh, it's going to smell like this and it's going to taste like this. And this is what the experience is going to be like. And it was very different. That was one of those like foot and mouth kind of whiskeys for me. But I agree. The 3 and that rare release 53 were.
It's so tough. I mean, there's a lot of fantastic whiskeys on the table.
It's tough.
I know everyone's dying to know what's coming to the bachelor party. I think
I know what is coming to the bachelor party.
I think it's actually going to be the Distillery 3. And it's because I want something that, as far as peat goes, right? I don't know if these are people who like peat or not.
Right. And that's approachable.
But it's not just approachable. It's knock your socks off. Like if you're someone who doesn't really know if they like Scotch or not, and maybe someone pulled the age-old terrible move, being like, oh, you want to try Scotch? Here's a Lefroy 10. You've never had Scotch before? You're going to love it. It's great. And then the person's like, whoa, this is like, 8 out of every 10 people are like, oh, what the heck is happening? And 2 people are like, yes. But I just think that this is the kind of peat that whether you love peated whiskey or you don't, you'll be like, whoa, this is really just beautiful whiskey.
It is beautiful whiskey. And I love that. So Mamuka 1977 said, but everybody got different taste buds. So what is good for me might not be good for somebody else. That's so true. That's so true. And that's like the beautiful thing about whiskey is, and I think it's probably one of my favorite things about whiskey is that like there could be 1,000 of us in a room tasting the exact same whiskey, and it's going to be a different experience for every single person. And that's what I love about whiskey is that it's literally tailored for you, to you. Like everyone's taste buds are different. Everybody grew up eating different things, tasting different things, smelling different things. And like whiskey is just like a very personalized experience. And I think that's awesome.
Both in like literal taste and reference points.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember one time smelling something and being like, oh my God, I'm back in my grandpa's 1970 whatever BMW. Like it was just fully transported back. And it's a reference no one else could possibly even understand.
Right.
It's amazing. I also love, to your point about everyone tasting differently, when you have people where like you get the exact same things on certain things and completely different things on other things. You're like, I thought I could trust you. What are you talking about? It's just
we're both right. Like you can't
exactly.
somebody that they're tasting the wrong thing when like you don't know. Like everyone's like olfactory like system is so different. It's so unique. And that's one of the cool things. One of the many cool things about whiskey.
Totally.
So quick question. How many bottles of this are here in the US?
Of the Distillery 10?
Yep.
Let's see. That would be 258. Did we get
Ooh,
that whole cask?
full cask. Yeah.
Okay. Look at
Sweet.
that.
So
That's
that's
exciting.
for us. Yeah, super cool. And Eric, we don't know the amount of time. So these are a blend.
No, this one's single cask.
5 and 3. So right, or 5 and 4, 5 years in ex bourbon, and then 4 years in second fill Oloroso, or 6 and 3.
I don't have like the actual write up in front of me. I just had the Excel with like the
I got
product
Hold on
import facts.
I'm gonna pull it up. Give me one quick second. 10.240. I'll tell you. So this one was. Oh, what the heck? Sorry, my computer is having a moment. All right, so this one is. This was a U.S. exclusive. And 5 years in bourbon, and then the remaining years in the second fill Oloroso sherry. So, yeah.
Done quite perfectly, if you ask me.
I agree. So, yeah. Well, wow. I can't believe we almost 2 hours. This is almost 2 hours. And like, tough this out with us. This is so awesome. Thank you all so much for taking the time to come hang out with us. Don't forget that we are running this awesome promotion. If you have friends who love whiskey and love to do things like this with us, like taste whiskey together and talk about things like Georgia boba and like have a laugh and, just really try to enjoy whiskey for what it is this incredible drink for everyone. Make sure you either gift them a membership or tell them about the society so you all can help us grow and we have more members, which means more whiskey. We would love to have you if you're not a member yet. So any questions on that, feel free to reach out to myself or Charlie. We'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. And yeah, this was freaking awesome.
The one other thing I'll throw in is this month we're not doing like a roundtable tasting. Instead, at the end of the month, on the 31st, both of us, along with all of our other typical YouTubers, are going to be getting together and tasting all of the festival releases. So how many is it? 11, 12? I think we've all taken an official festival holiday the next day from work.
Yeah, 11.
But yeah, on the 31st, we'll all be getting together, and we hope to see you there with more comments, questions, and hopefully a lot of you will have had time and a chance to have your bottles delivered before then, so we can drink along with you.
Yeah, this has been such a treat to be able to. I mean, this is really. I genuinely believe the most anticipated time of the year for our members, and the fact that you and I got to sit down and taste through these whiskeys and give our opinions on them with all of these incredible people here in the chat is really a treat. So thank you all for taking the time to come hang out with us.
We are very, very lucky, and everybody start the timers 1 p.m. tomorrow. Is that right?
Yep.
All of these
the website at 1 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow.
Good luck and Godspeed. Slanjava.
Yeah, I'll take that. So Charlie, it's been a pleasure. And again, thank you to everyone for hanging out and taking the time to come listen to us wax lyrical about all these beautiful whiskeys. We hope you are able to pick some up and enjoy them as much as we have.
Happy festival season, everyone.
Cheers.
Good night.
Good night.